So today we're going to break down the top 10. It's not top 10, it's just the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, which happen to be called the Bill of Rights. And before we get into this information gold mine, we have to ask, why did the Founding Fathers make the Constitution? Because in the 1700s, the United States colonies at the time were under the rule of Great Britain. And their king was very controlling, and a lot of the colonists didn't have great rights. They weren't allowed to do a lot of things, and they hated that. So when they declared their independence, they decided, we're not going to be like them anymore. We're going to do it our own way. We're going to make sure we get this right. Starting off with the First Amendment, which is freedom of, and you often hear speech, but it's more than just that. It's also freedom of religion, press, assembly, and petition. In Britain, the king would jail people or execute them for speaking out either against him or practicing a religion other than what they were practicing at the time, which I actually don't even know what it was. If I had to assume, I would say Catholicism, maybe. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. Nonetheless, in the modern day, you can practice freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want. You can write media stories, articles, news about anything you want. You can assemble to discuss politics. You can argue with the rules as they exist because the people at the time wanted fairness and they understood that governments can be controlling. Now, do we always have perfect freedom of speech today? No, we have censorship, which makes me wonder. Second Amendment, right to bear arms, is probably the most controversial in the Bill of Rights, and it was because at the time, colonists definitely were not liking what was going on with the government, and they felt that their weapons were the only thing that could physically defend them. British soldiers tried to take them away. You probably know what happened next. Nonetheless, today it is in our amendments because the Founding Fathers thought if the government became tyrannical, we would want the people to be able to defend themselves. The issue is the weapons are not being used the way that they were intended. And in addition to that, a lot of people argue that modern day war technology in the hands of the government would supersede the power of what a gun can do in self-defense. A lot of controversy with this amendment. People call for gun regulation. Nonetheless, that's the principle of why it was made. It wasn't because people wanted to hunt. It wasn't because people wanted to kill. It's made for people to defend against the government, and that is not how it has been used. You're never going to forget the Third Amendment because it's hilarious. No quartering soldiers, which basically means you don't have to have soldiers in your house. They thought that that was the third most important thing that they needed to write about. Why do they do this? Because British soldiers would station in the houses of colonists for, I don't even know why, to be honest. But nonetheless, this does have a caveat that says during peacetime. So apparently during wartime, we can technically hold soldiers in our house. The government can make us do that. I don't really know, but hilarious. You don't have to keep soldiers in your house, at least during peacetime. Fourth Amendment's pretty cool. I like this one. No search and seizure, which basically means that people can't just barge into your house and start looking through there. You have the right to your own property. You can't just get into someone's house if you want to without a warrant. This is because British soldiers would just go into the colonist's house and just start rummaging through their stuff, and it felt like, an invasion of privacy. So nowadays you often hear, you need a warrant to come in here. It's because they do need a warrant. You need probable cause to search someone's property. So this is a good one. You can feel safe in your own home. Amendment number 5, rights of the accused. You often hear, I plead the fifth. What does this mean? Essentially, the person who was being put on trial, the odds were against them back in these times, okay? You could be trialed a ton of times until you confess to something. You could be forced into a confession that isn't true. What does this do? It basically protects you against double jeopardy and self-incrimination. You're not going to be forced to say anything that's going to make you incriminate yourself. And double jeopardy means that you can't be trialed for the same crime twice. Once the punishment is done, it's done. Or once your trial is done, the trial is done. This is good, brings more fairness to the courts. And the next few amendments are actually about the courts, so we'll get into that. Sixth Amendment is the right to a fair and timely trial. I don't really know what was going so much on in Britain, but they would apparently just like ship people to other places and prolong trials and basically keep them in some sort of like incriminated state, if I had to guess. Help me out on this one if you know about it. But essentially, this means that you have the right to a fast and timely trial, and it should be fair. they can't use some ho-dunk methods against you. So yeah, that one's pretty simple. Seventh Amendment, right to a jury in civil disputes. This is because the king, mostly in money disputes, was just rigging it. He was like, you're guilty no matter what. Imagine you go to court, verdict's already made before you step in. So a jury, elected anonymously, is 12 people with no bias, and they're vetted. We have this today. And ensuring that they don't have bias, they are then join this team of 12 people, and they decide on your case. Everyone has to agree, and that's how a jury works. We have that in a lot of trials today. Small claims court doesn't have juries. I don't really know what type of cases have juries and not, but you've heard about jury duty before. That's why. Number 8, no cruel and unusual punishment. If you look at punishments in history, that stuff was weird. You got burning, branding, whipping, quartering, drawing, just weird stuff. I mean, just look it up. I made a short on it. I made shorts on all these. This is going to feed people to this video. This video is going to feed them to the shorts. It's going to be good for Enzo Elaborates. Nonetheless, crazy punishments back in the day. All right, just torturous stuff. But argued today because people say, should capital punishment exist for people who do insane mass crimes and stuff like that? Should we set a principle? There also was firing squads. There also was the electric chair, lethal injection. All of these things are a part of our history. So you start to say, what's the line on cruel and unusual punishment? Love to hear what you have to say in the comments. Number 9, unlisted rights still exist. The King of Britain at the time used to claim that rights that were not written belonged to the kingdom rather than the people. Again, founding fathers wished for more power to the people. That's the whole principle of the Constitution. So they said that some things just might not be written, but that doesn't mean that they're not rights. Some cases that people talk about today are abortion, identity, sexuality. So these are all in discussion in the modern day. This one is interesting to me. Number 10, any right that is not outwardly spoken on behalf of the government then goes to the states to decide and then the people, okay? So the government can't make a law on every single thing. That would be too controlling. And again, founding fathers want to give power to the people. So sometimes you're in a state and this state has legal gambling and the other state doesn't. And you're like, what's up with that? Well, it's the government giving the power to the people. Or is it a cop-out? I don't know. But it just wants to keep the people in power. The whole premise of the Constitution is power to the people, and I think that's pretty cool. This has been another Enzo Elaborates Hood Classic. I'm not some historian or politician or geographist, if that's a word. But I'm a guy who wants to learn. And I like to learn things in a simple way, and I like to teach them to you in a simple way so that I retain them better. It's the whole premise of this channel. My sister has a Constitution test coming up, and I better be the one to help her learn about the Constitution that I myself forgot about, and then help myself to learn about it, and then help you to learn about it. Until the next time, we out.